All righty. All right. Good morning again. And yes, we are yeah, we're gonna jump right into chapter 6. Um, hang on one second. Oh, okay, wonderful. Actually, let me go back up to the beginning. Yeah, so chapter 6 is skincare products, chemistry, ingredients, and selection. So this is one of the reasons why we have the chemistry chapter. We get done with the chemistry chapter first, so that we have the background that we need for this particular chapter. So in this chapter, we're looking at how skincare products and ingredients are significant to estheticians, describing very briefly cosmetic laws, regulations, and product safety, distinguishing between cosmetic sources and popular terms, cosmetic ingredient sources, and the main types of ingredients is in cosmetic chemistry, beneficial ingredients for various skin types, appropriate products for facial treatments and home care, be able to recommend home care products with confidence, and then summarize all the points to consider when choosing a professional skincare line. So this actually goes right in line with having someone from a skincare line kind of come and talk, because this is exactly kind of what she's talking about. All righty. So we're going to move through these pretty quickly. I need to start getting you guys ready for coming to campus. When we come to campus, it's going to be kind of similar to what we're doing now in terms of you're going to have some lecture, but you've got to have so much hands-on going on even before you start touching clients that the lecture is going to become very minimal when you get to campus. It's going to be a real brief overview, something to start paring down a little bit and getting more ready for that, and start introducing a little bit of state board. You're going to do a lot of state board when you get here as well. All right, so why is it important to understand how skincare products and ingredients can be significant to estheticians?
Because of how many like other skin conditions and problems that people have. You want to make sure you're not triggering like, something else, because what can help one person can mess up somebody else.
True, absolutely correct. For the very same, you said both reasons in one. So ingredients are what make a product work. Ingredients are what make a product a problem for people. They can solve problems for people. Ingredients are everything. Ingredients are at the core of what a product does, right? So understanding the ingredients is significant because it's the ingredients that do the work, right? Or cause a problem, or can create an allergy situation. So understanding ingredients is super critical to the process, right? All right. Importance of knowing products and ingredients. You got to select the right product for the proper to fix the problem, and then you have to also select the right product to making sure you're avoiding ingredients that cause problems. Educating clients on why a product is good is always based on the ingredient. Explain what they do and how to use them, and for you to remain on top of the latest ingredient and product technology. So again, they're going to be here. I'm actually going to, maybe I'll call in on my phone and let you listen in on or watch what they're doing when it comes to the product part. Let me see if they're on the product part. She pulled out a bunch of products. Hold on, let me see where they are. We're going to have people come throughout the time that you're here. She'll come again. And then I also know a good bit about SkinScript products. I think it's going to be hard based on what I see in there to kind of get you to get a sense of what's going on. But that's exactly what she's doing right now. She's educating the group on the different enzymes and masks that they have, so that you understand what they do. So for example, Skin Script is a good example because they do a lot of fruit-based products. In some cases, it's the fruit. The fruit is partially an active product, but a lot of times with the enzymes, for example, I feel like my computer keeps getting stuck. For the enzymes, for example, the fruit play a part, but with enzymes, there's chemicals in there, right? So there's acids in the enzymes along with the fruit, which fruits also have naturally occurring enzymes as well, which make the enzyme functional. So you have things that are like the coconut papaya enzyme, for example, that has no acid in it. So it's all the way at the end of one end of the spectrum, all the way to the pumpkin orange enzyme, which has 15% acid in there. So it's a very, very strong enzyme, right? And so there's everything in between, right? So really understanding both the acids that are in them to know which enzymes are less, are more gentle and which enzymes are stronger, into knowing as well, like the different ingredients in the masks that they have. So if you have, like we were talking last time, calming ingredients, we think of aloe, we think of lavender and chamomile and things like that, right? We understand because we know what the ingredient is and what it does. So we know when we need a certain effect, we're going to go for that particular ingredient. And if we know the products, which is why product knowledge is important for a particular skincare line, we know what ingredients do. So we understand what products they have that have which ingredients in them, then we know which products to pick, right? Because we know what effect we want to have on the skin. We want a calming effect. There's certain things we want. We know we want to break down the skin a little bit. We want to disrupt the skin barrier because we need to get products penetrated down deep. We know what products do that. When we need to rebuild the barrier back up, we know what products do that. So when we find the products that have those ingredients, then we're being smarter about what products that we're picking, right?
Yes.
Alrighty. So it's also important to know your cosmetic regulations, laws, and safety, product safety. One of the things that's important and we talk about when we get ready for state board is client safety, protection, infection control, right? Client safety, you know what infection control is. Client protection and safety has a lot to do with the products that we're choosing. So it's important to know what these laws and rules and regs are. And part of that process is understanding who is responsible for those laws. So we have the FDA. Everybody knows what the FDA is. We've heard it, but I don't know that we all the time know exactly what they do. So the FDA is responsible for ensuring the safety of our nation's cosmetics, which include makeup and skincare products. Two most important laws pertaining to the cosmetics that are marketed in the United States are the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, the FD&C. So you ever seen on like toothpaste or, I don't know, sometimes drinks, you'll see FD&C red number 8 and FD&C blue number 7. FD&C is referring to the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. Okay, and then you have the FPLA, which is the Fair Packaging and Labeling Act. So you want to make sure you review these in your book. The FDA regulates cosmetics under the authority of these two laws. The law does not require that cosmetic products and ingredients other than the color additives, which are the ones I just mentioned, have to be FDA approved before they go onto the market. Other than that, ingredients do not have to be FDA approved. This is why we need knowledge on them, because we cannot trust these folks to just totally protect us. They're going to put those color additives on there. Why? Why do the color additives have to be on the label? What has to be disclosed and labeled 9 times out of 10?
Things that could possibly happen.
Things that cause what?
That could happen, like reactions.
Yeah, the bad stuff has to be disclosed.
Mm-hmm.
And we know those colors, those dyes are not good for us. So stuff that's usually bad has to be disclosed. Stuff that's healthy Does not always have to be, does not have to be disclosed. So pay attention. That's why they always say learn how to read labels, because a lot of information on those labels based on the laws that we have today, there's a lot of stuff that has to be disclosed. Usually the stuff that has to be told to you is the bad stuff. Therefore they say, oh, well, if I took this product, if I use this product or I ate this food item and you got some problem because of it, you knew what you were eating because it's disclosed on the label. Does that make sense?
Just like an infomercial, like when they talk really fast, like when they trying to sell your product and they talk real fast because they tell you like, things that could possibly
And the thing is they're going to say, oh, well, we put it on the label. You should have read the label. If you read the label, you should have known what was in it. If you didn't want it, you didn't have to eat it. You ever notice how fruits and vegetables in the produce aisle don't have no labeling?
versus the ones on the shelf in a can.
Because what's on the label? What has to be disclosed? Things like processing,
preservatives and stuff like that, like colors.
which we know are not good.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Yep.
All right, how the law defines cosmetics and drugs, defined by the FD&C Act. Cosmetics are intended to affect the appearance of skin. Cosmetics are intended to affect the appearance of skin by definition. Drugs are intended to cause physiological changes. What does physiological mean?
Like mentally?
Hmm?
Mental?
Mm-hmm.
Like your physical appearance?
It could affect the physical appearance. So when we say anatomy and physiology, what are we studying?
Like how it works. Like in the body, like how it moves or how does it work?
Correct. Anatomy is the structures in the body, and physiology is how those structures work, how they function. So drugs are intended to affect the what of the body?
Oh, like your how you function, like your mind, like
function. The function of those body parts, correct. So drugs affect physiological changes or cause physiological changes. Cosmetics affect the appearance of the skin. Those are the difference between the two. So can a product be both? Let me go back and look at this up here. I'm just going to open this up a little bit. Okay, so can a product be both? Can it be both a cosmetic and can it be a drug? Yes. So this is an example, well, not this picture, but acne cleanser, for example. Cleanser is a cosmetic because it is intended to cleanse the skin, which affects the appearance of the skin. But an acne cleanser with benzoyl peroxide is a drug because the benzoyl peroxide is an ingredient that treats acne. So depending on what the ingredients are of a product, it could be a cosmetic and it could be a drug, or it could be either. All right. Moisturizers or makeup marketed with sun protection claims are among other non-prescription cosmetic/drug combinations. So if it's a moisturizer, it affects the feel and the appearance of the skin because it puts moisture in the skin. It's a cosmetic. But if it has SPF and it's now protecting or providing a barrier to the skin for sun, for UV protection, then it is also a drug. Okay. So there's a new term, cosmeceutical. It has no meaning under the law, but it's a relatively new term that you hear nowadays in the professional skincare industry. They created this term as a bridge between cosmetics and pharmaceutical, cosmeceutical. So this is one of those things where it's a cosmetic and a drug combined, right? So it's got to comply with the FDA for both reasons, because it's a cosmetic and because it's a drug. All right, so that's cosmeceuticals. Product labeling, I want you to go back and read through all of this. But the most important thing I think on this slide here is the last thing, which is an inky name. Okay, so the FDA requires that all cosmetic labels include a list of ingredients using standardized inky. It's called inky names for each ingredient. Inky is an acronym for international nomenclature cosmetic ingredient. International, worldwide. Nomenclature refers to the name. Cosmetic is, we've already defined a cosmetic ingredient. So an INCI is a name that's allocated by the American Cosmetic Association, Personal Care Products Council, and they're used international. All right, so there is a app, I think, called an INCI Decoder. You'll hear this a lot when you take ingredient classes, which is something that I highly, 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 highly recommend. You're getting, you already know, I tell y'all all the time, you're getting a better education here than most schools. But as you look at continuing education after school, you want to take ingredient classes. There are classes out there that are just for ingredients. Very, very helpful if you're going to be somebody who's doing facials, or if you're going to be doing advanced procedures that require a lot of different types of products. You're going to want to really take an ingredients class and become a master as much as you can at ingredients. So keep your eye on that name and look up Google INCI Decoder. I think there's an app for it. It'll help you when you start to see these big ingredient names to decode or break up the word, like what I always tell y'all to do, right? And I'm actually doing, before class, I was doing some Jeopardy cards for medical terminology, because this class is about medical terminology. And I was like, I said, my students gonna be whizzes at this when they get to campus, because I'm a big person on terminology and decoding, because you can see this big name and be like, what is that? But if you can break it down into its word parts, and you know what word parts mean, you can figure out a word that you don't know if you know how to decode. So I'm big, big, big on that. You know that. All right, product safety. So many ingredients used in skincare and treatments may cause adverse reactions. We were just talking about that. Certain fragrances, you mentioned preservatives, chemical sunscreen ingredients are among the most common allergen. What is an allergen?
Things that can affect your allergies.
Correct. A substance that can create an allergic reaction. Correct. It's often difficult to distinguish whether a reaction is irritant or an allergy reaction, right? Symptoms of an irritant reaction include burning, while itching is usually a sign of an allergic reaction. Additional symptoms are inflammation of the skin, blisters, hives, rashes, eyes may swell, puff, or produce tears. These are all symptoms of what? Allergies, right? It's something that's irritant. I think that's the biggest thing, is something will burn you, or burn, or what's the other word? Tingle or tingle. So when we talk about enzymes and we talk about chemical peels, there's especially with enzymes, more so with SkinScripts enzymes, they teach you about those in terms of a tingle factor. So you may have what the product is, like the fruit base it's in, why it's in that fruit base, because a lot of fruits have their own, like I said, natural enzymes, what acids were added to it, and it'll talk about a tingle factor. So some tingle factors are minimal to none, some tingle factors are mid-range, some tingle factors are high. That is an irritant reaction that you're preparing the client for. But if you're having an allergic reaction, you have all these other things happening. So understanding the difference is very critical in educating your client and preparing them for your treatment. All right. We talk about this a lot lately, right? How to deal with adverse reactions. So in advance, you want to do a patch test. Sometimes we do patch tests behind the ear. Sometimes we do them on the inner arm, because the inner arm has thinner skin. So patch tests are important. They're not done often because they're not as practical to have a client come all the way to see you just for a patch test and then come back for their appointment. So it doesn't happen as often as we were talking about with lashes. It doesn't happen as often as it should. If you have the ability to build it into your business model, you should, for protection. Handling an adverse reaction, remove the product immediately, rinse the skin with cold water, apply cool compresses until the skin calms. Sometimes you want to be careful treating an adverse reaction with a product because you don't want to further disturb it. All right. If it continues to go on, or if it's a serious reaction, you got to send them to seek medical care and bring the product with them so that they can figure out, you know, what might be in the product that's bothering them. And then you want to also notify the product manufacturer immediately. All right, because they need to know how people are reacting to their product. Alrighty, let's see. Synthetic versus natural. We have our ideas about this from hair, from other situations, right? All right, so natural products can have powerful skin benefits. However, some of the most effective cosmetic ingredients are not derived from natural sources. They're synthetically produced ingredients. They can be just as effective, and they can have certain advantages over ingredients derived by nature, such as no pesticides, not leaving ecological footprints. What's another one? I can tell you one. And I used to, you always think, oh, synthetic is bad and natural is good, right? But a lot of times you can avoid a lot of allergic reactions with your synthetic products. So your synthetic products, because they're lab created and they're not naturally occurring in nature, you can avoid a lot of allergens. You can avoid a lot of allergens from synthetic lab created products. Also, it says manufacturers do extensive research and development to bring the latest technologies into cosmetic formulations. SkinScript is big with that. Everybody's big with that. So for example, hyaluronic acid used to be derived from rooster's combs, and the synthetic version today is more stable and effective. So you're not having to deal with animals, you're not having to necessarily destroy plants. So a lot of times the allergic reactions, the allergens that come off of natural products, you can avoid that with those synthetic products. All right, so we know a lot of these terms, right? Natural, all natural, organic, cruelty-free, and vegan. So make sure you understand these terms. Natural just means it comes from natural sources. Organic describes natural sources that are grown without the use of pesticides and chemicals. Cruelty-free products that are not tested on animals. And vegan should not contain any animal ingredients or animal byproducts. This includes beeswax, honey, lanolin, collagen, even though those don't come exactly from an animal, but they may be produced by or have some effect on an animal. So it's considered an animal byproduct. Also popular terms, gluten-free. My brother has celiac disease and everything he does has to be gluten-free. Seriously, like he's super, super sensitive. And do you know what gluten-free means actually?
Like no wheat?
Correct.
Or
from a basic standpoint, yes, that is correct. So to establish a gluten-free claim, the FDA and organizations concerned with this have set preliminary thresholds of less than 20 parts per million of gluten. So whatever the container is, it cannot be more than 20 parts per million. So whatever the unit of measure is, right? If it's a million, it can't be more than 20, whatever, whether it's milliliters, whatever. And then it talks about celiac disease up there. Hypoallergenic, nope, hypo.
Under.
Correct. Decreased, allergenic is pertaining to creating an allergy, right? Dermatologist tested, non-irritating. These are terms that describes ingredients or products that may be less likely to cause allergic reactions, but they cannot make the guarantee. Non-comedogenic. Non-comedogenic. I was going to take my time. What is non-comedogenic or comedogenic? What's a comedone or a comedo?
I have no idea.
Okay. So it refers to an ingredient that will not clog the pores.
Okay.
Okay. Camino is what we would maybe even can sometimes be confused with acne. So it's a clogged pore or blackhead, right? So comedogenic is an ingredient that tends to clog pores or creating the
Okay.
formation.
And non is not.
So non-comedogenic, right, does not cause blackheads or whiteheads, doesn't clog pores. And I started to see that on products that I never noticed it on before becoming an esthetician. Okay, so ingredients dictionary it talks about. Super, super helpful. Fragrance-free indicates that there's no ingredients that have been added to the product to specifically provide a fragrance for the purpose of giving it a fragrance. That doesn't mean that the product has no fragrance or smell to it. It may have a smell based on the products that were already in the product for whatever purpose the ingredient is for. So if it's a product with lemon balm in it, it's going to have that lemony smell, right? That citrusy smell, because lemon balm is naturally fragrant, but it doesn't have a product that's specifically added to it to provide a fragrance. Case in point, my normal soap is an oatmeal almonds. There's this oatmeal almond soap that I've just love to use. It is naturally fragrant, but I choose it for how it does for my skin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I out of my soap, right? So I look in my bathroom this morning and there's a bar of Irish Spring in my bathroom, right? So I asked my son, I was like, what is this? He was like, well, we're out of the oatmeal soap. So I asked Pop Pop for some soap. And that's the soap my father uses. And I was like, oh, let's see. Oh, it smells horrible. I've used it before in my former life. That is the stinkiest. That soap smells horrible to me now. Because I like all this natural stuff. Oh my God. I'm like, how? Oh my God, I gotta get my dad on the good soap. Jesus. That soap smells terrible. I was like, oh my God. I was like, am I gonna smell like this today? Oh, terrible. I smell that, and all I smell is artificial fragrance. It does not, you know how so marketing is a trip, because I remember Irish Spring commercials from probably before you were born, and it's got some Irish man out in the hills of Ireland and he's singing Irish songs, and it's like, ah, the smell of Ireland, you know, and it's like, no, that mess just smells like perfume, right? So I know for a fact that they've added something, you know, I'm silly. They've added something into that product to give it what they think, or what they think people are stupid enough to think is a natural smell of Irish Spring. No, it smells like perfume. It's terrible. That was definitely not a fragrance-free soap. It just smells so fake and disgusting. Now, my soap is an oatmeal almond soap, and it has such a light scent, and it just smells like, I don't know if it's oatmeal or if it's almond, but it has this light, natural scent to it. It's just, you know, so it's not completely unscented, but it's probably fragrance free. You could tell they didn't add anything to it. It's so light and natural. So fragrance free is something that was, you know what I'm saying? Like, for example, it talks about here, a product may have lavender. I used the example of lemon balm 2 seconds ago. It may have lavender in it to use the lavender for calming, for its therapeutic benefit. So it's a very distinct aroma. It's not free of fragrance because, you know, lavender has a fragrance, but there was not a product specifically added to give it a scent. So if there's a product not specifically added to give it a certain smell, then it can be considered fragrance free. Does that make sense? And then there's unscented, and these are products that are formulated to have no smell. Some people don't want any smell to their products. All smells make them like, ugh. So a lot of ingredients have an odor naturally. So sometimes you have ingredients that are added to mask or neutralize the smell. So it doesn't. So if it has lavender in it, there may be a chemical added to the mask or the product to neutralize the smell or bring down the smell of the lavender so that it can be considered unscented. So just the difference between fragrance-free and unscented, it's very important that you understand these popular terms because I think they're overused and misused quite a bit. Alrighty, so let's look at the ingredients here. The class that I took over at SkinScript talked about this a lot, and I appreciated that because a lot of times we don't understand kind of the nuances behind these ingredients. So these are common ingredients that you will see in products and the examples of those. So you have water. So water is funny because people are like, oh, water is just like it's like, I should put my tongue, that means it's time to stop talking eventually. Water is, in a lot of cases, it depends on the purpose or the intent. Water is an ingredient. A lot of times people think of water being added to a product to water it down or to fill up a bottle versus, like filling up a bottle full of just products. But water is absolutely an ingredient. Purpose would be a vehicle, meaning water can carry another ingredient into the skin or carry it from one place to another. We're talking about skin, so a lot of times it's for that. It's also a solvent. Do you remember what a solvent is? We talked about this a little bit in the chemistry chapter.
I wasn't here for the chemistry chapter.
You weren't here for the chemistry chapter. For some reason, I thought you were here by now. So you have things, and you'll come back around to chemistry, called solutes.
It helps dissolve?
Correct. Correct. So
absorb?
in a solution, you have two things. You have a solute, which is something that goes into the solution, and you have the solvent, which is something that receives the solute. So a solute goes into a solvent and dissolves, and that's the solution. Okay, so water is the universal solvent, right? A lot of things get put into water. And then
is that why they telling people like to drink water, like if you're taking like a vitamin or something, like to make sure you're drinking a lot of water because it helps? Okay.
Yeah, it helps it gives these pills, which pills are naturally hard to absorb. Think of something that's hard, right? In a pill form, that has to dissolve into particles in water in order to be brought into the bloodstream and into the system, to your system. So yes, absolutely need water for that reason. And the same thing for an ingredient. You may have a semi-solid ingredient that you want to get into the skin, but the skin is not going to just take something that's semi-solid. So if you're able to dissolve it in a water or other liquid ingredient and then add it to the skin, now those particles can get in because the water is carrying it in. So that's what it means by vehicle. Emollients are oils, fatty acids, fatty alcohols, fatty esters, silicones, thicker, heavier types of things like jojoba oil, olive oil, sesame oil, mineral oil, which we don't like putting on our skin too much. But that's something that is a thick or heavier type of, fat soluble type of ingredient. Surfactant is something that, so the types would be like detergents or emulsifiers. A surfactant is something that allows, I'm trying to think of what's the best way to explain that. Do we have a definition down here? If not, I will come up with it. The first time we ever hear of the term surfactant is when we think about a newborn baby. When they cry, in our lungs are made up of air sacs at the microscopic level. And that's what's taking in the air and breathing out the carbon dioxide. What allows those air sacs to expand and contract is surfactant. With a preemie, a lot of times surfactant is the last thing that a baby will get. So that's why sometimes lungs and all that can be a problem for a preemie. They don't cry a lot and they have trouble breathing. That's why a lot of times preemies have to be on, air, ventilation systems, because surfactant is the last thing a baby gets before they're born. So if they're preemies, they don't get that surfactant. Their air their air sacs can't expand. So an emulsifier is a type of surfactant. Emulsifier is something that allows, you know how water and oil don't mix? An
Mhm.
emulsifier is something that allows water and oil molecules to come together. It allows a water and oil mixture to mix together instead of sitting separately. And a detergent is just what we know it to be. It's like a soap type of product. So you have examples here. You see these, and this is something to pay attention to when you look at labels on your products at home. Ammonium lauryl sulfate, sodium laureth sulfate. Those are very popular. Sodium lauryl sulfate. Those are very popular surfactants that you'll see. Hey. I'm gonna wrap it up. Yeah, we started at 10:30. Okay. All right. So we have clients here that I need to help with. So look over these, the different preservatives, the different fragrances, color agents, those DNC colors that we see all the time. Thickeners, you notice emulsifier is in that category as well, because it does the same thing. And then pH adjusters, right? Remember, pH is our acids and our bases or our alkalines. So if we have something that's too acidic, we need to make it a little more alkaline. If we have something that's too alkaline, we need to make it a little bit more acidic. You know how we put stuff on our hair to straighten it? And then we use neutralizing shampoo. So, Perm is very, very alkaline. So neutralizing shampoos are very acidic because they're neutralizing and bringing that high pH down back to where it's a little bit more normal. And then we have solvents, which is like we use the example of water. So there's other things. You can have an alcohol solution as well. All right, so we're going to pause here. I want you to go ahead and finish the rest of that. Let me know what questions you have. We're going to maybe quickly go through the rest of this, but move on next on Wednesday to the next chapter. And the next chapter is, let me log in and we can look at it real quick. Next chapter after 6 was, and you have my permission to move forward in your portal. Move forward. Keep moving in your portal regardless of how we move through the lectures. So the next one is new share. Is going to be facial devices and technology. This whole row right here is where we're going next. We're going to do facial devices and technology next. And then next week, facial treatments and facial massage.
Got it.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Nope.
All right. You're awesome. Thank you so much for showing up. I will have this posted. If you have any questions you come across, let me know. Go ahead and try to get this one done for Sunday and go ahead and move on to the next one.
Got you.
All right, my dear.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
You're welcome. You too.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.